I'm Olivia. I am a wildlife and travel photographer. My goal is to inspire people to give a shit.
I'm Pat. Spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I have strong views on conservation and the U.S. Constitution.
We will discuss topics like yoga,
How to gut a deer and not fuck up your meat.
orgasmic meditation,
Full body orgasms.
life after divorce.
Life after death.
Why the fuck do we still use plastic bags?
Why can't everyone learn guitar in school?
What do you look for in the perfect photo?
What's in my food?
What's in my mouth?
We might also dabble in a little bit of motorcycles. That's right. She rides a Harley, bitches. While our upbringings drastically differed,
Our ability to communicate and be open-minded has allowed us to strengthen our relationship. So this podcast is here for you to broaden your horizons, possibly change your perspective on a topic. So we hope you enjoy listening to The Hunter and Hippie. Welcome to episode 9 of The Hunter and Hippie. My name's Olivia, and this is Pat.
hola.
We first want to welcome all our newbies to our show. We have noticed that we've been gaining traction on the different platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. So we want to thank you for joining our fun little hippie/hunter family. With that being said, we also have a little bit juicier content in our subscription-based episodes. We will be coming out with one the following Monday after this comes out. And it's going to talk about our agreements that we have in our relationship. And some of them are, not for the public to hear. So if you want to get in on that, I highly recommend you do. If this is your first episode that you are listening to, great. I do suggest that you start at episode 1 so you can get a feel for who we are, what we've done to become stronger people, how we have built each other up in our almost year-long relationship.
Yeah, I thought about that yesterday.
What?
I was like, damn, we've been together a year.
Not
Damn-
a year.
damn
He
near.
likes to round up. You
I do.
like to
I round up.
Yeah. If you do enjoy us, follow or subscribe to our channel. So following on Spotify and Apple Podcasts is huge, as well as subscribing on YouTube. That's amazing for us to get comments on the episodes, as well as that thumbs up on YouTube. And share this with anybody who you feel could benefit.
Yeah, and this episode is brought to you by Premier Maintenance, a commercial and residential maintenance company covering anything from home remodels to cutting your grass.
And the owner is kind of hot.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but you do you.
So if you ever want to have some like hot guy with tattoos and a backwards hat remodel your kitchen, reach out to us because I know the guy kind of well.
My link will be in the show notes. I've never seen show notes, so
You know what
I
they are.
don't really know where they're located.
So the show notes, in case you don't know either, those are at the bottom, like in the description on Spotify. If you click the episode to hit show more and you see like the summary of the episode, it's below the summary, or on YouTube, it's like below the whole video. So it'll be on there. So if you want any help or want a quote, Pat is here to help you out with that. Our episode will be discussing remodeling and revamping your home on a budget. And the reason why we wanted to do this is, well, I've done it before. I first did my own condo, gutted the whole thing in 2015. And in doing so, I was able to sell the house a year later, almost exactly. And I made like over $100,000 profit after cost and everything.
Yeah.
And then 2022 is when I started my duplex and I remodeled that. And I love it. And so does Pat.
Yeah. My construction background and love for it started, I guess it was 13, 14. I don't know if the labor laws allow that, but
Oh, your age?
yeah. I was part of a demolition crew where we went through and tore out the old to make room for the new. And I thought it was really cool. Bought my house in 2014, 2015 in California. And then same deal. I spent right around $3,500 of my own money. Did sweat equity, did the entire remodel myself, zero hired help. and got about a $75,000 return on my investment. This episode is about giving you tips and tricks to help you along your journey in remodeling, and Olivia's perspective of the quick items that can be knocked out right away.
I'd say the more common folk, and then you have the more like contractor tips, right?
Yeah, I guess more tips for when considering a contractor or doing it yourself,
Yeah.
whichever your route is. I got a couple of tips for both. So
I got like level 1 tips, and you're like level 2 tips.
yeah, I'm like just the tip.
Just the tip. I was just thinking that. All right. So I will start. I actually have been helping remodel since I was also like 10 years old when my parents bought this old 1970s popcorn ceilings, linoleum flooring, my childhood home. And what they would do and what I did is they would start one project at a time when they had the extra money. And so I've just loved watching spaces transform. And then when I bought my first condo, I started it kind of immediately. I literally closed on my condo, and my ex was at work. And when he came home, the whole place was gutted. We had no bathroom, like the walls were removed. And by walls, I mean like a pony wall, like a half wall.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable bashing out a wall until I know that it's not load bearing and all that.
Right.
So I had somebody else who was, who knows if he actually was a contractor now, but he said he was. And so he did more of the structural removal of things. And then I was ripping out the carpet, starting from scratch, basically. But that's not the first tip that I want to give, but I have done a lot over my life. First off, I want to acknowledge that buying a home of any sort, house, condo, apartment, it's a big investment.
Mm.
It's extremely stressful when you watch all of your hard-earned money go into like earnest money and closing costs and all this weird stuff that you don't think of when you say, yes, I want to make an offer. Like there's a lot more money that I think you need to consider before that process. But if you have all the money, you've spent all the money, and now you're like, oh my God, I got nothing, but I just want to make this home feel like mine. We bought this house that we're currently recording in 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 months ago. And so what we did first, the easiest thing to do is buy some paint. This house had 3 colors in the living room because there was miscommunication with our realtors, and I was expecting it to be painted. So we basically had incomplete walls everywhere. And for me, being Miss OCD, seeing walls with a green and a gray, and then like cut in around the windows with the
One
new
wall with a mustard and a green.
yeah, like literally so many colors. Like to make me feel less stressed and to feel more settled in this, I knew that I needed to paint. So what?
No,
Why are you laughing?
I remember that moment. I just remembered you were like staring around the room and you were like looking at lights and you're like, I want to change this fixture. I want this wall out of here. I want to change this room into a bathroom. I want to move this laundry room into the mud room and then make it a walk-in closet. And then I don't know where to start and I don't like this trim, but we can work with it if I paint.
Yeah. Paint is $50 for a can. Don't go the cheapest can because you will end up buying twice as much paint and probably spending as much if you just bought like a middle ground. The ones that I've been buying are Clark and Kensington. They keep trying to push Benjamin Moore, and they're like 80, $90 a can. And I know that we are going to be smashing walls eventually, so I don't want to spend $160 for 2 gallons when I know this is maybe only going to be here for a year or two.
Yeah, and kind of pro tip is if you're going to be painting over dark colors with a lighter paint, then make sure you prime it. Either a shot of Kiehl's, K-I-L.
Kills.
Kills, yeah.
K-I-L-L-Z.
Yeah, but I say Kiehl's.
Why?
I don't know.
It's called kills, like kills mold.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Kills everything.
Kills
even the prior color.
Okay. That stuff's expensive, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's going to save you in the long run with paint. If you're buying $85 gallon paint,
yeah,
and you got to put 2 coats because you can see the lime green or the hot pink that was underneath it, and then you're trying to paint something. Cappuccino is the color I always see. It's like an off-white with a
Huh.
little brown in it. Anyway, just spend the time to either prime it or note that you're going to put 2 coats just to hide that dark color. And the paint that we're using, what's it called?
Dove White,
The brand.
Clark and
Yeah,
Kensington.
the Clark paint has primer mixed in it.
And I got the eggshell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not completely matte because we have kids and they say, oh, you can wash everything. I've had
Right.
matte where one scuff, you can't get rid of it. So I don't like the gloss, super glossy, like latex looking, like
Mm.
Catwoman pants. Um, the
Weekends at
eggshell.
the bodega.
Yeah, so I do the eggshell because it's slightly got an easier sheen to clean with kids. So actually what I did first in this house was I knew being an organized person, like when the house is a mess, I like physically am more stressed out. Like if the house is messy, it affects my mood.
Mm-hmm.
And I've moved so many times that I know I need an organized space.
Yeah.
So with this house, we started by painting our master bedroom because I wanted to go to bed knowing that like the walls were finished before I even had a mattress in there, before moving furniture out of the way, because all the ceilings were painted that yellow green. So we painted the ceiling first. Always paint the ceiling first, I think. If you're going to paint it white, do that first
Mm-hmm.
because then you can slosh the color into the corners and not have to worry about cut-in while you're upright looking at the ceiling. So I started all the cut-in. If you can't see the ceilings, but we live in an 18-sided house. It's a yurt and there's open beams everywhere. So think of a pizza in triangles. We had to cut around all the beams in every part of the ceiling. So it was not super easy, like just a rectangular square shaped room. It was like in the master, I think there's 4 pizzas.
Yeah.
So I did all the cut in because I like cut in. Pat likes rolling. So it was a great team. It's like 15 feet tall, right?
The corners go from 10 and then the peaks go 20.
So kind of a lot. But we as a team, I started the cut in first, and then we started on the walls another day. Don't set a goal that is so big that you can't finish it in one day.
Right.
We started day one, let's get the ceiling painted.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the ceiling painted. You feel accomplished, you feel empowered. You're like, yes, like let's do the next step. Then we started the walls. I started the cut in at the ceilings, and I gave you about like 3 inches, I'd say.
Just like I give you.
Jesus. So I gave you about 3 inches of me using the paintbrush to go down the wall with
Sure.
the paint color so that you didn't have to get super close to the ceiling and risk hitting it
Right.
with the dark blue that we have. So we did that. I also had to consider we have pine trim and door casings.
It's oak.
Okay, sorry. We have oak trim and door casings, and it's more yellow. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I had to look at the situation and be like, all right, all of the doors match the trim. So unless I want to take everything down and restain it, which maybe we do in
Yeah.
5, 10 years because
That's on the list.
I'm over this color. But right now I'm like, okay, what color do I love and what color can complement this yellowy orange like trim and doors?
Mm-hmm.
So what I do almost always is pick a paint color that is a little muted. It's got a little gray in it. If you go super vibrant, the color is going to get old much quicker. So if I chose a blue that was kind of like his shirt color, like a navy blue, instead of the slate blue that we picked, I would most likely have a hard time sticking with that color because if I change the comforter, if I change the furniture, it's not going to match unless I pick the same colors. But if I want to revamp the room, I might be over the dark wood furniture and I might want a light color. So I like to do more muted tones because it goes with more furniture, more soft items like pillows and comforters. So
Accent items.
accent items. So that's what I do. I like to then keep my comforter and things like that more timeless. either plain or I love, what is that? Like single stripe, pinstripe?
Pinstripe.
Yeah. So like pinstripe, nothing like super patterned
Uh,
for me. This is my personal preference. So if you love crazy patterns, great. Maybe pick one of the more muted colors in your comforter that you want to go with, or something that
mm,
complements the whole room. Another thing that I like to do before even picking a color, go on Pinterest and type in what you are really looking for. Moody bedroom, or mid-century modern bedroom, something. Use a term that you're wanting to go towards.
Black walls, gold trim, black lights.
Sex room.
Yeah.
So I like to get a kind of an inspirational board started, and then I pick the colors. From there,
You tag me in it.
yep, we have several shared Pinterest boards to get a feel. I wanted to know what he liked, and we are pretty much aligned. We like the darker tones, moodier rooms, especially with tall ceilings. We can go darker. If you have low ceilings, you might want to go to a medium tone paint, or if it's a small room, go with a lighter color, but then also paint the ceiling white rather than painting it the color of your walls. If you paint the ceiling the color of your walls, it's going to bring the height of the ceiling down. It's going to make it look even smaller. If you've already painted and you're like, I still am just over this, I like to gather all of my decor belongings. Like, I like to go to thrift stores or antique stores and find stuff, because I think nowadays almost everything is crap, made in China, cheap. It has no character. So when I'm remodeling or rearranging a room, I'll gather those items from different rooms and put them out on like my kitchen counter. And then I'll be like, all right, well, what can go in the master bedroom? And what?
Sex swings.
Oh, we have that one in the garage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just kidding. So anyway, gathering all the items and then rearranging that way is a great thing. Moving the furniture around if you're able, if you're restricted, kind of like us in a yurt house. I might give the items that I'm over. Like, I've had our lamps in the master for like 10 years. So that might be the next thing if I get over what we have.
I like the base of it. Maybe we just change the shade.
Yeah, and you can totally do that. So get creative. Now we'll get into the pat part, where if none of this is working, if you've rearranged, you've changed the paint colors, and you're still like, I just don't, like, you feel unsettled in your own home, then this is when you might want to tackle your first big project.
Yeah. When you think big project, don't think of it that way. You have your entire house. Most people have a mortgage. It's a 30-year mortgage. If you intend on staying in that home for 30 years, then just take your time. My cousin, he is phenomenal at building, and he gave me the advice back in 2014. He said, don't try and tackle your entire house remodel at once. He said, just pick one project and do that one project annually. If you've got the extra money to do two, awesome. Put it away and do something more elaborate on your second project. So if we were going to remodel the kitchen, which is pretty big take on,
Yeah,
honestly.
kitchens are expensive. Don't recommend them unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, they add up really quickly. And when you decide, hey, this is what I want to do, then you have to decide, are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire out help? That could be a contractor, or that could be a laborer, your buddy, and you charge them a case of beer. But the top two reasons why people don't pull the trigger on actually doing the remodel are either fear in itself, and the second is finances. Don't just hire off Angie's list and get the first person that pops up because they're local. Get as many quotes as you can, not only on the work and the overall cost of it, but what is the line items that are included in that quote? How much am I getting my material for? How much am I paying for labor? How much am I paying for demolition? Is this something that I can do prior to the contractor showing up? If you want to knock a wall out, well, then pull one side of the drywall off and see what's in that wall. If you look in there and you're like, oh my God, there's wires and there's pipes and there's all this stuff, then stop and call a professional.
But also, like, if you're gonna do it yourself, what's like the average height of that stuff? Because like, what if they hit it and they just go straight into wires right
Well,
away?
it depends on the state you live in, but typical is like 18, 19 inches off of the ground.
And then also, don't hammer like above or below an outlet or a switch, go over one. And what's the gap? 16 inches between studs?
On a traditional home, yeah, 16 on center. So you find a stud finder, and every 16 inches, you should hit a stud. But some contractors, when they build homes, they cut corners. So you might have a stud every 24 inches, or you might not have studs at all.
What?
The hamsters we were talking to at the Black Hills Motorcycle Show.
Hamsters is a motorcycle group, not the rodent.
Yeah. They were telling me about their problem that they have. The beautiful contractor decided to put in double French doors that were solid glass, spanning basically a 12-foot wall, and that's all glass. Well, they didn't frame it in. So there's no,
What?
yeah, there's no header supporting it. They just boxed in,
The glass?
they boxed in the glass around the drywall and
How do you do that?
the two outside king studs. I don't know. I want to meet the contractor just so I can say, how'd you do that, bro? Because
That's
that's
impressive.
not, yeah. But the problem is when they get high winds, it starts to rattle and pull away and flop, and then when they open both doors at the same time, it wants to
Sag?
escape the house.
Oh my gosh.
So that's going to be a massive project for them.
Yep.
Um,
So that's why I think getting 2 quotes at least
Yeah.
is really important, because then you'll know if you're getting the same procedure from 2 people, then maybe it's the right way. But if you get 2 totally different, like, oh yeah, you don't need to do that,
the
I might get a third opinion.
yeah, and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, you don't need to give them an answer right away. And if they're super pushy, then that's like a red flag to me. It's like, okay, well, I'm paying you. This is my money. So you're not going to push me into saying yes in this moment, because you normally end up paying for it later.
That's part of business, and the contractor should already know that when you're called out to give a quote, you're not there to talk that person into hiring you. You're just quoting the job.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look, these are the costs of the materials. This is how long it's going to take me. This is how much I charge per hour. And as a result, this is the total cost.
What are some things that you've noticed that are sketchy from other contractors coming in? What are some red flags that you can think of for somebody listening?
So there was less red flags in California, surprisingly, because, it takes you a solid year with the testing and then becoming a licensed contractor. Out here in South Dakota, it's much easier to become a contractor in this state. And the issue that runs with that is the fly-by-night contractors, the guys that aren't sticking around, that are just in town. Happens more so in a big city where they can go in and they can sheetrock or drywall, half finish it. They'll just do incomplete work, but they'll get paid for it and they'll just bounce.
I like contractors who
Have tattoos.
require like maybe half down. I will never pay somebody in full until it's done.
Yeah.
My last project was not complete, and I paid him what he did. But I feel like it's very common for contractors to get to 95% of the way through a project, and then they just start showing up less and less.
Yeah.
If I were a contractor, I would want to finish a project 100% so they're happy.
Yep.
And they refer me, rather than go to a new project because I'm almost done with this one and then never come back to that one.
Exactly.
So that's something that I think happens more often than not. This area, there's a lot of contractors that want to do big projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Pat's business, Premier Maintenance, is the smaller projects. Because when I had my house 95% of the way through, there were things that I didn't feel comfortable doing. Like, I probably could have, but I wanted to just pay somebody. Like, I have work. I just wanted to pay somebody to finish the little stuff, like framing the rest of this door, cutting the bottom of a door.
Planing.
Yeah.
Planing the door.
Yeah, planing. I was trying to think of the name. Like, I don't have a planer. It would be cool if I did, but I don't have one. So then I got to find somebody. And I'm so thankful to the Lees that lived down the road from me, John. He worked with a carpenter. And so he had a planer and all the different tools for woodworking. He brought the door to work and came back, and Pat hung it, which was great. But to get back to like the smaller projects.
So you just select one project a year if you're on a budget. If you're not on a budget and you've got the money to dump it, then just tackle one project at a time. Don't do 4 projects at once. Do one at a time. Once you finish them, move on to the next. But when you're doing that, research your material cost. compare all the quotes, and don't select the cheapest person. If you select the cheapest form of help, it doesn't always translate into the best work. So you end up paying double because you're paying another contractor to come in and fix what the other contractor fucked up. There's a term with mechanics and with custom vehicles and motorcycles that you're not paying for the product, you're paying for the technician's time. Same thing applies with contractor. Paying for the labor and material is one thing, but you're also paying that contractor for their skill set.
See their portfolio.
Yeah,
If they don't have a portfolio even of work they've done at their own house, I'd be a little unsure of it. Pat has your kitchen that you did
right.
in your house in California, like all the cabinetry, hanging cabinets is
Yeah,
not the easiest thing. I've never done it.
not to just toot the horn of premier maintenance, but there's contractors that are general contractors. Well, that's just a term. Some of them have really good skill sets. They could be fantastic cabinet and countertop people, but they don't know how to do tile.
What are you good at?
I like remodeling mainly. I don't like messing with a lot of the structure. I prefer to build off of what's already there. So finish work, cabinets, installing range hoods and ovens, and
I like tiling.
I can do tile very well.
I like how when I said I like tiling, you're like, well, I like tiling. And I'm like, well, who's going to do it if we decide to tile something? Like we
Right.
were kind of like on
We'll do
this
it together.
standoff.
I like electrical, I like plumbing, I like concrete. In college, that's what paid the bills for me. I like building stuff because at the end of the day, I spend my time on something that was nothing and then turned it into something that lasts and people admire.
So like what Pat said, it's great to start one project at a time. I think a project, if you have a list in your house and there are some that are much bigger, don't start there as your first project. Something that I would do, I didn't do this because, like I said, I gutted my whole condo. My mom got involved, Miss Sledgehammer. For Mother's Day that year, I bought her a sledgehammer. You should have seen her face. It was the most excited I've seen her in a long time. So she was bashing walls way too early in my move-in process, but we did it anyway and we made it work. Like I peed in the bushes, sorry, complex, but I did. We used my next door neighbor's shower for like 2 weeks while we were working on getting everything tiled. One thing that we had was my ex's stepdad was a carpenter and had worked on housing.
Mm.
And I think now he's a contractor in Idaho. But anyway, he gave me a tip on tile. He said, never start tiling in the corner of a room.
No.
He said, find the center of the room, use that chalk line, measure the size of your tile plus the size of the grout line that you want to do, the spacers, and then kind of try to map out your room so that when you walk through the doorway, the tile goes in the direction to lengthen and elongate the room.
Mm-hmm.
So create that line visually, start there with your tile, and use that as your guide on either side. So when I started my condo, we found that line. We started there. We went all the way the length of the room. So we had like weird strips of tile on the concrete. And from there, I would aim for like a 6x6 area.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're talking about floor tile?
Floor tile.
Okay.
They were like they looked like wood planks.
Yeah.
So that's what I used. I loved the way it looked. And so I would do like a 6x6 area and I would do it until like midnight. So I would get home at 5 o'clock. It would take me half hour to an hour to get everything set up, all my equipment laid out so I can be productive. And then we would do the process and we would do the pre-cuts. We would pre-cut the tile that we needed to during the day so that we weren't cutting at midnight. And then everything was already ready for that night. And that took, like 2 weeks because it was like a 850 square foot condo and everything was that tile.
Mm-hmm.
So I started in the living room and we made our way so that we could eventually put a couch somewhere. It was an amazing experience knowing when I sold the place that I'm like, I freaking tiled like this whole place myself.
Yeah.
So tile is something that you can do if it's like a bathroom that's super outdated. Start there. I think in my old house in Mountain Plains, there was a very outdated bathroom downstairs, and I paid Amish Joe to do it. So I had Joe tile. It was a very small space. I bought a new vanity, and just the tile and the vanity and labor, maybe $1,500 for everything. And it transformed the whole space, and it was super manageable. And even if you don't have the money to buy a new vanity, paint it. Make sure you do the right kind of paint. So I recommend bathrooms if they're ugly looking. You can really make yourself feel good every time you sit on the toilet.
Jesus Christ. You talked about the do-it-yourself. Brings me to the second reason for people delaying projects, and that's fear of either not knowing how to do it or fear to just get started. When you consider doing a DIY project, a do-it-yourself project, you really can't start that project until you do it. So,
Correction.
what?
You can't start that project until you've researched a little bit first.
Well, let me finish talking.
Well, good.
One must do it in order for it to be done. So, in order to do it yourself, you have to research what it is you're doing, research how to do it, research the material needed to do it, the tools needed to do it, not just the necessity of like a table saw. Like, oh, I'm going to build a fence because I have a skill saw and a table saw. Like, that's a bad idea because, you need a post hole digger, you need an auger, you need some type of solidifying material.
Cement.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Solidifying material.
Well, yeah, because there's pour foam and there's cement and there's different materials you can use. You can use rock, but just do the research.
There's so many channels on YouTube that I've researched over my remodeling life. There's different pages that I've subscribed to because I trust them in their process. And just make sure you're researching more than one place.
Yeah. And then don't bite off something more than you're capable of doing. Know your limitations. Doing projects yourself can turn into a disaster very quickly if you skip a step that might be crucial to the infrastructure of the house, whether it be electrical or plumbing or gas lines. I came across a soffit and I opened up the soffit and there was 2 gas lines, 15 electrical cables, and 1 water line going through the ceiling. Because it was a 2-story house in California.
Your house?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I looking at the soffit, you're like, oh, that'll be a quick 15-minute cutout. I dropped the ceiling and went, oh my God, I have to shut the gas off. I have to bleed the gas lines. I have to reroute this gas pipe. I have to use the proper rated pipe for gas.
Ask a contractor or a friend who happens to be in that field to come over and look at the place. And also, you mentioned to me the blueprints. If you have access to the blueprints, I highly suggest you look at those.
Yeah, and if you can't read the blueprint, then find someone who can before you do any of the work. If you're unexperienced in the 5 major areas of construction, the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing, or concrete, don't do it. Hire somebody who's specific for that job. Those 5 major areas, licensed contractor must do the work in order for it to be permitted. And then also check your city and county regulations to find out if you do need a permit in order to have that done. I know there's the theory of it's my land, my house, I'll do what I want. That's fine and dandy if you're going to die in that house. But in time, if you're going to sell that house and you purchased it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and you put it on the market as a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, you better have the permitted paperwork and the city inspection process to get to where you're at now. So if you don't know how to do it, seek advice from a professional or just save up the money and hire a professional.
I don't think it's wrong. Like if we wanted to expand our deck,
Mm-hmm.
To hire out the concrete or the foundational part,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe laying the flooring or the lumber.
We're not doing that.
I know.
Okay.
As an example, this is an example. If we wanted to, then we could maybe once the foundation is set, then we might be able to lay the flooring down.
Sure.
So there are ways to still save money if you're able to do some of the work. don't try to cut corners and try to be an electrician when you've never touched wiring before.
Yeah.
You could kill yourself, set your house on fire, all kinds of different things. So, like he said, know your limitations, but also be willing to try something.
Yeah.
So, it would have been great if our living room was painted like we thought it was going to be because the ceilings are so high and there's just so many different walls. But hey, I started by focusing on the smallest portion of the living room, which was the windows by the front door. So one night, while I think Pat was working, my son was with his dad, I started the cut-in around all of the windows and the front door. And sure, it wasn't complete, but I was starting the process. Then once that was all cut in, the next day or whenever I had 2 hours to kill, I rolled the wall. So I did the cut in first. I always recommend cut in first, then do the rolling. Second coat once you're, on to another wall.
Mhm.
And I did it in pieces. The one area in this room that you cannot see, but I will admit to, it's not finished. There's these, like, I call them coves, and the top cove is still that yellowy green, and it's driving me nuts. But I will not go up there when I'm alone because the ceilings are 20 feet tall, and I don't want to fall while I'm alone. So I'm going to wait for Pat to be here. He helps me, even though he didn't help me necessarily with like all of the paint, but he started the process by moving all the furniture for me and taking the shelving down and setting up the space because like I said earlier, it takes a long time to set up any remodeling anything.
For the record, I took those shelves down and moved the furniture, and I painted that wall.
You rolled it. Yeah, I know. And you rolled over here. And it was awesome because I said I wanted to paint, but I came home from maybe dropping Hendrix off at daycare and he already had everything pulled away. And that is a huge step. Like, I started our master bathroom 2 days ago. Yesterday, I finished painting the hallway in the living room, but I decided to start the master bathroom because every room is that frickin' yellow green, and I'm so tired of looking at it in the bathroom.
Yeah.
The tile in the bathroom, this is the mentality I have, and maybe you'll gain something from it. The bathroom has very like early 2000s tile, like
10-inch square tile.
like skin colored with, fleur-de-lis accent tile on the bathtub wall because we have like a, what do you call those? A jet tub? Jet tub? Fancy tub. Two-person awesome jets in the tub. And the tile is freaking ugly. I hate it. But I also know the work that'll have to go into chipping it all up and then retiling. That's not really in our budget right now. But I do know the style that I want. And so I started painting the walls this really dark, like almost black gray. Because again, we have big old ceilings, big windows, and the accents in there are gold, most of them. There's chrome and brushed nickel, oil rubbed bronze. There's like 5 different finishes in the bathroom. So I'm starting to prepare the bathroom for the style that we want. So I'm okay with the gold, with the look that we're going to have with the manlier like slate colored tile with this dark gray blue. Actually, it's kind of got more red in it if you want to be artistically inclined to describe it. But it's very dark. It's really pretty. It makes the gold pop off the wall. I'm probably going to add more white to brighten it, like white towels. But right now, the interim is I'm going to start painting and I'm going to start changing some of the fixtures. Like you should see the lights that hang from the ceiling, like on
Drop lights.
the drop lights, but they're like the cord's like 10 feet long.
They're like 15 feet long.
Yeah. And they're hanging from the ceiling, which is fine, I guess. But they're like terracotta colored.
It looks like tapioca pudding and nicotine stains.
It's just they're ugly. They're outdated. They're probably from the original. But what will completely transform that space, even though the tile's the same, is changing those fixtures to match the style that we're working towards. So it's okay if you can't do it all at once in that sense. Obviously, what we mean earlier, don't start a tiling project and not finish it because you're going to probably mess up the tile if it's not grouted
Right.
or you can't use the shower as an example. But this one, we're not starting any big project. We're painting
Right.
and then redoing some of the fixtures to make it manageable.
Yeah, and in time the projects will get complete. So when you're planning your own projects, just do one at a time. Start off slow. Don't try and like put tongue and groove ceilings if you've never worked a nail gun. Start off small. If you want to learn how to do things, maybe build like a bar stool. Build the bar stool and then stain it. And then you'll have to learn like, oh shit, I have to sand a lot. And then you stain it and then you have to seal it. And so learn the steps to the process before taking on a house. And there's courses and classes that you can go to for DIY stuff. You know, Pinterest will show you and YouTube will show you how to do it. Go to like Home Depot and they put on classes and they'll teach you how to do it and you get hands-on experience doing it.
That's
So,
cool. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
I mean, the
We have a,
closest Home Depot here is in Gillette, but
yeah, 100 miles away. What you said about not using a nail gun,
oh yeah.
uh, one other awesome way to make a room feel so much fancier is wainscoting
Yeah.
or chair rail. You can add dimension. I added it in my rental house. This was not for any other reason than to cover the screw up that the electrician did. There was no ground in my rental house. It was built in 1950. So it was old school wiring. If I was remodeling, I want this to be safe and to code, especially because it's a rental property. So one of the electricians started cutting in the middle of the frickin' wall through the drywall to then be able to rewire and thread all the ground, whatever, into the house. And I remember walking in and I'm like, what the fuck? The plan was to go down at the base of the walls so that I could just get really tall baseboard
Right.
to hide what they did. And this freaking electrician went right through like 2 feet into the height of the whole room. So instead of ripping all the drywall out and then remudding and retexturing, that like that's expensive. I thought about it. I'm like, oh my God, I could put wainscoting in. And it was my son's room. So we just did wainscoting all the way across and the chair rail at top, and it looks adorable. It's a very cute way to have the room styled, and I didn't have to redo all the drywall.
Yeah, and it's really not that expensive in the long run. You know, batten board and some trim board is really all you need to get that knocked out, and then paint to make both materials match.
The first, I'd say, year and a half, the wainscoting and the chair rail were just still primed. There were so many projects that one wasn't a priority. It looked good to anybody else who didn't know that it hadn't been painted white. But one of the weekends when I had nothing to do, and I think it was in the middle of winter, a snow day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start this project. What I did is I started by caulking the seams. I knew I wasn't even going to touch the paint that day. So I didn't even say, I'm going to paint this. I said, what's the first realistic step? Okay, I'm going to fill all the seams in to prepare to paint. And it took me way longer than I thought just doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't even bring a paint can in there because if I then got to that step, great, I feel even more accomplished. But if I wanted that step and I didn't get there, I'm going to feel depleted and sad, like, oh, I didn't get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
Like we keep saying, the biggest thing if you want to start a project is cut the progress that you want to achieve in one day, cut it in half. Cut it in half and then double the cost of what you think a project's going to cost you.
Yeah, and a pro tip: if you are gathering materials for your own home project, do 10% greater than you need. If you think you need 10 boards, go ahead and buy 11.
Yeah, because you might cut it wrong.
Yeah, you might
go back and buy another one.
You might cut it wrong, and then you'll find certain corners need different angles, and you don't really realize this, but no walls in a home are actually straight.
Gosh,
So when
yeah.
you put on a straight, and if you get a true straight piece of trim board, congratulations, I hate you. But an unwarped, true, completely straight board that is going against a wall that is not true and straight, you're going to have gaps. Don't freak out. That's why they invented caulk. CHAULK.
No.
Caulk.
CAULK.
What'd I just say?
You're like spelling chalk.
Oh, fuck. Anyway,
Not cock.
it's
We don't play with cock on the walls. We use caulk. I have to have the L. I used to say, yeah, can you hand me that cock?
it's caulk.
Caulk.
The L is silent.
No, it's not.
Caulk.
No,
Okay.
caulk. Say
Caulk.
caulk. Or
Caulk.
else you're talking about
Caulk.
penis all the time.
If you say caulk at Home Depot, people are going to think you're choking on something.
Good. I don't want to say, hey, can I have some white cock?
I'm thinking about caulking my bathroom.
See, you had a little L.
I'm thinking about caulking my bathroom.
See?
Could you hand me the white caulk? I'll be right there.
I'll be right there. Like, oh yeah?
We'll cut that out from the
Will we though?
No, we won't. So when you're purchasing the materials, get 10% more than you need. At the end of the day, you might have some left over, but it's okay because if you have kids or you're moving stuff around, you might damage what's on the wall. So you have replacement parts at the end.
It's also nice when you're selling the house and the new buyer comes in to know that there's backup, because like us, if we want to rip out a wall, the flooring, we have a couple panels. Hopefully that'll work, or else we'll have to refloor this whole level.
We have like 4 boxes in the basement.
4?
Yeah.
Sweet. Anyway, how do we want to close this?
When you're considering doing a home project, if you have the money and don't have the time, then hire a professional. If you don't have the money, but you have the time and you want to do it yourself, challenge yourself a little bit and start off slow. Don't do a massive project. And
Research.
if you think it's small, then maybe bounce it off somebody who you know. My information will be at the bottom of the show notes. Feel free to shoot me a text and say, hey, what do you think about this project? Is this something massive I'm about to get into? I encourage you every time I come to your house and give you a quote that, hey, this is not set in stone. Bounce it off other people and let me know what you think.
For me, my tips were mainly start small, move some of the furniture around, move some of your decor from another room into that room that's feeling stuck and boring. Or the next step would be picking a paint, something a little more muted, nothing too crazy vibrant. And if that's just not working and you want some movement and new flow into the home, start with something small. I like to start with say tiling. If you have cheap like linoleum flooring in the bathroom, consider tiling it. You know, it's going to last a lot longer than LVT. LVT is great, I guess. No, it's not. I don't like it. I just don't. I never will. If you're going to be in a forever home, spend the money on quality products that will last. So those are my tips. Those are his tips. Maybe we'll come back on after we have started our first big project. We will be adding on above the garage. We're going to have my photography studio, and our podcast will be moved up there as soon as that's done. Yeah. It's going to be our creative space and little yoga area. It's going to be lots of windows, feel kind of like a greenhouse is what I want. And then from there, it's going to be shuffling the bedrooms and the bathroom around, which then goes into remodeling the kitchen. So it's all in pieces. We know we're not going to do it all at once because we don't like
5-year plan.
Spend all that money at once, but also it's very stressful when you have so many things in shambles. So with that, we're going to keep it as short/long as possible. We hope that you have gained a little inspiration, motivation to start a project yourself. We would love to see what you end up doing. So if you want to send us messages through social media or our email, we'd love to see like before and afters if we have motivated you to start a project. And we will end it off with the little reminder. If you are enjoying our show, please follow us. Subscribe, give the episode a thumbs up on YouTube. Also, add a comment. We like hearing what you thought of that particular episode. And then the following Monday, we are going to have a new subscription-based episode.
And one of the biggest things that help us is feedback. It's pretty cool when we're in town and someone's like, "Hey, dude, aren't you that guy from the podcast?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am." And old neighbors who have known me for 5 years, they're like, "You do podcasting?" Like the coolest part is hearing people say they enjoy our banter because I like to fuck with you and you like to fuck with me. A lot of our shows so far have been more of the hippie side of things.
Are they, though? We just had Jason on about motorcycles and marine stuff. And then we had my dad on about career and how to make your first million.
So 7 out of 9 episodes are
Nuh-uh.
hippie.
Life after trauma.
Hippie.
What?
Yeah, it's like getting in touch with your feelings and shit.
Oh, God, because that's so bad.
Yeah, just stay shut off, compartmentalize, and fucking bury your head in the sand. You'll live.
One that I can think of that's very hippie was episode 3 with Rex McDonald talking about bees. Yeah. 4 was my dad. 5 was us talking about
I don't know.
you being a dick.
So what?
6 was me alone talking about when to leave a relationship. 7
Hippie.
was Ashley talking about business, career paths, and a little bit of hunting. 8 was talking about Marines and a bike show. And today we are talking about remodeling. So it's not super hippie. It just has my influence because I'm part of the show. And then 10 will be your face getting smashed into this microphone.
Don't tease me.
Jesus. Spring/summer will most likely lean more towards our motorcycle backgrounds or interests because we have a lot of people on that industry. I've grown up in it. So it'll be kind of a little more manly, but we also have some cool, again, more hippie feminine type things since a lot of our listeners are women.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Have you seen my face?
You're hot?
Yeah.
You're hot. Anyway, we appreciate you enjoying our banter, enjoying the topics we discuss, and we will see you next time.
And don't worry, we actually get along better than this in real life.